It is time. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to stand up. It's time for Christians to come together, to share their testimony, to inspire hope, and to join their brothers and sisters as we answer the call. Folks, it's time to wake up the lions. And I have an absolute lioness with me today. She is, I'm telling you, she's just live, ready to go, absolutely not afraid of anything. We just had that conversation, and I cannot wait to hear her story, hear her testimony, and hear how God has impacted her life. Please welcome to the show podcast host, author of 8 books, which we're going to find out about today. Please welcome Miracle Sims to the show. Miracle, how you doing today?
I am good. You make me want to start roaring. Like, you got my animal print on. I didn't know I was, ready, but okay.
I thought that was on purpose. I thought you were getting in the theme, ready to
You
go.
know, hey, yes, I'm going to say yes then. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
let's go with that. I like that answer. That works. All right, Miracle. Listen, I know we got a lot to get into, but why don't you just kind of just start with who is Miracle Sims? What's your story? How has God impacted your life?
Awesome. Well, yes, thank you so much for having me today. I always usually start with saying, a small town girl with big dreams. I guess that's what's my beginning. I thought I was going to be, focused on being an actress, right? And all this good grand things. And I do that, I have done that and I am doing that. But obviously the Lord, saw fit for me to do a few other things. And so, like you said, yes, I am now an author. um, and I would say much more. I mean, you have the podcast, the hosting, working at the church. Like, I got a lot of stuff going on, but I'm grateful, man. I think I've just always been someone that pursued to use my gifts and talents. I didn't want to sit on anything, and I guess I'm still that way. And so, yeah, and now I do my best to focus on doing that, using my gifts and talents, but also being intentional about using it for the Lord. So a lot of the things I have going on these days are centered around, Christ. And so performing still, yes, writing all these different type of things, but the Lord has inspired me on, I guess, what he wants me to write and what he wants me to do and what he wants me to create. And so, yeah, there's a lot to share and say in regards to all of that, but I guess that's a good starting point.
Like it. I like it. All right, I like it.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. The Lord obviously is important in your life, serving him.
Yeah.
Has your faith always been strong like that? Like from the time you were a kid, were you raised that way? Or was there something in your life that happened that kind of like brought, God into your life?
Yes, sir. So I was raised in the church. Yes, my mom is an evangelist, and so I've always been raised with the Lord, things of that nature. For a long time it was just me and her because my father, unfortunately, long story short, passed before I was born. They were married for maybe like a year or two, and the year I guess I was conceived, he passed that May. I was born in August, so never got a chance to meet my dad, things like that. But so it was me and my mom for my first, I would say, 1 to 4 years. Then she remarried. My stepfather, who was the only father I know, so I call him my dad, and eventually, maybe like 5 years, by the time I turned five, they had my sister. So, I guess I share all that to say that yes, my formative years was definitely Christ led through my mother. Um, but it was also a time where, the enemy tried to like get in there in those early years as well. And so and I always feel like it's important to tell this side because I feel like it helps people understand like the things they see me doing today. So long story short again, um basically, so at that time, even though my mother was instilling in me obviously values, morals, Christ, basically the enemy used a babysitter, right, to introduce me to uh ultimately I know now it's molestation, but at that time, you're being kissed, you're being encouraged to touch things that you don't know, like when you're 3 or 4, like what's good, what's bad. And then I eventually learned as I grew, like, oh, that thing that happened wasn't supposed to. And so obviously that early exposure had an effect on me. Some say it has negative effects. I don't think mine necessarily was negative, because I didn't experience something that was quote unquote traumatic. I don't look back on it as traumatic. I think I just, again, it was early exposure. Like I shouldn't know anything about being kissed romantically, things like that, you know. And
Yeah.
um, so for me, it just made me, I guess, more curious or more like with those desires and stuff. And if I fast forward way past, like a whole lot of stuff happened, okay, but if I fast forward to, my college years, that was one of my I would say across, because here I am, you know, I didn't really have a lot of time, I would say, to act on many of my desires growing up. It was just something that things in my mind, dreams, things would be happening, but you just think you're just living life. You're not thinking that type of stuff. You're just like, oh, this is just a dream or whatever. I guess you grow up and start learning about spiritual warfare and stuff, which I know we kind of
Right.
touched on briefly. So now I get it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, the enemy was trying to, mess up me in my mind. Like there was a lot of things at that time that really was trying to, I guess, I would say, block me and my voice. I guess silence me from a young age. And it wasn't necessarily that individual in the situation. It was, the other things like basically, see, there's so many parts of the story,
You're
but
okay.
try to fast forward through it because I know it's a lot. But basically, I feel like the enemy was trying to silence me at in my younger years, and maybe me keeping that side quiet because I never really would speak on it. I never once I started keeping journals, I never really even would write about it, about what happened and how I felt and the things that was in my heart and mind, about all of that. But now I see why, because I mean, your girl's talking almost every day in my adult life about the Lord, so it's like, oh, I get it now, but then you're just living your life and you're just thinking like, when am I gonna have a boyfriend? What am I gonna do? Whatever. And so in college, I was at a crossroad moment of because there were, I believe, the early exposure, it was a female, and so I had those thoughts, and whatnot throughout life as well. And so in college, I did, I guess, dabble into I guess now I know to be a homosexual relationship, and stuff. And at that moment, it was a crossroads moment for me because I had to, at some point, I felt like the Lord was like, which path are you going to choose?
Yeah.
And obviously, I decided to walk the Lord's path because I mean, it's always been instilled in me. I knew what the Bible was saying, or I knew what I had been taught, but I had become more intentional about studying it and seeing like, okay, I heard we not supposed to, but I'm conflicted with how I feel. So I go to the Word and I'm reading it for myself, and I'm saying like, okay, well, now I got to make a decision, right? I can't, either I'm going to ignore what I've just studied or I'm going to live accordingly. And so I decided to live accordingly, which was really a hard decision at that particular time. And unfortunately, I think the young lady I was dealing with, I think she probably continued, or whatever. And I feel bad about that, but I don't take on the full thing because at the same time, everybody has to make their own decisions and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was one of the crossroad moments for me. And then after college, I was like more intentional about, okay, I know I desire marriage. I desire a husband. I desire, true love and whatnot, and not like my, just this fooling around thing. And I would say the another crossroad moment or really big point in my life that I often talk about is what I call the cultivation period. And so that was in my 20s. At that time, I was really just seeking the Lord about, why am I single? Like, why am I, it seems like I've never gotten to that next level and all the questions, right? And where's my husband, Lord? I'm horny, all the things, right? And
Right.
long story short, I'm trying to fast, but I'm so sorry, bro. Um, I'm trying to just get to it. But basically, what was going on at that time was, again, I'm this single woman. I'm living on my own. I was living in Florida at the time and doing my thing, but just also feeling like something's missing, something ain't right. So, all of that. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe it's love, maybe it's marriage. That's what it is, Where's my husband, Lord? I'm ready now, and all of that. And then there was one day I went to the church that I was going to at that particular time, and the pastor said in his sermon, he said, when you make God's wants your wants, you're going to get what you want. And that was the first time I really just asked the Lord, well, Lord, what is it that you want? Because I thought, you know what I mean? We were on this path. I went to school for theater. I'm working in this career. I'm doing the things that I thought, you know what I mean, that I was going to be doing. And even though some things was a little bit different than I thought it would be, but still, I was like, I'm using my gifts, right? So what is it then, And then that's when he, took that word, right, and used it as a mirror for me to look at myself real good. He showed me that I was not ready for what I thought I wanted. He showed me there were some things I had to, I guess, quote unquote, sacrifice, right, let go of. That's a whole thing by itself. I was writing uh the cultivation period, a single Christian's journey. It wasn't named that back then, but I was writing this quote unquote memoir or my book. And at that time, just kind of documenting what I was learning as a single Christian woman and what I had experienced and like just getting an understanding of what got me to where I was mentally, why I dated the way I did, why I fooled around, like all these different type of things. And so yeah, I would say that all of that I would say are the three like milestone moments of early exposure, college, crossroad moment, choosing the Lord, right? But then ultimately him again, and then me asking him finally, like, okay, you know what I mean? What do you want me to do? And that was like I said, in my 20s. So I'm sure you have questions.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that you unpacked just a
But
little bit there.
yeah.
So, yeah, all
So
right.
I'm trying to like those are the highlight. Those are the moments that you're asking about.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When we talked in the pre-interview about spiritual warfare, I mean, you gave me like a real quick head nod. I'm starting to get that real quick head nod now because I mean, you've been facing that a lot, throughout
Yes.
your life. That's something that's been prevalent
Mm-hmm.
for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know that's what was happening in my childhood until like
Hmm.
my adult life. And then looking back at my childhood, now I'm like, oh, I get it now. Because one of the things, for example, and no shade to my no my family or anything like that. But basically, long story short, as a child, like one of the things that really, really I think shaped the way that I processed and stuff was being told like you need to stay in a child's place and not and it was like when I did verbalize my thoughts, my ideas, or things that I was observing, right? It was like met with combativeness. Like it was like World War III if I had an opinion. And I'm
Wow.
like, why is this like this for me? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what is happening? It seemed like other children can go around and just say whatever, they can slam doors, they can do all of this stuff. And I was never like that. But if God forbid, I had just made an observation, you know what I mean? And then it just would be this big issue for me. But I'm like, how is this happening? Uh, but now I see again, like I just told you, every day to some capacity now in my adult life, I'm speaking about the Lord, you know what I mean? Whether it's on the
Yeah.
podcast or whether it's teaching the children at the church, like I'm always, and then like I told you earlier as well, like everything I'm focused on these days is giving glory and honor to the Lord. So of course the enemy tried to silence me in my youth. Like you don't talk, you don't, you know what I mean? Like even before I started talking online, so in the cultivation period in my 20s, um well, another crazy moment or whatever was getting like the sleep paralysis, and waking up and not being able to move and only being able to think Jesus to for it to go. And in the moment, it was like before I started speaking on YouTube, I want to say maybe it was like a week or so. I can't remember exactly now, but basically what I felt like it was something trying to like hand over my mouth and like trying to and telling me to shut up is what I felt in the spirit. And I'm
Wow.
just praying, Jesus, and then eventually it goes. And then I was confused because I'm like, where is this coming from? And then a few weeks later, I ended up, starting to just talk on YouTube and stuff. And so which is now branched off into what people may know me for these days, which is my platform called God, Sex, and Love. But yeah, at that particular time, I just was documenting how I felt as a single woman because what I was observing was uh believers having conversations that I couldn't relate to because they were acting as if they weren't horny, they were not here, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't hard to be single, and stuff. I'm like, it's hard, you know what I mean? Because you don't want to be. I don't want to be. I didn't want to be single. And then two, dealing with all those desires and stuff that's been awakened, right, before time, right, and stuff like that. And so I'm like, no one was addressing that. I felt like at that particular time, when I was looking for content. And then when I look on the other side, of course, unbelievers are having all kinds of conversations, right? But then they're not telling me what I need to hear. But as a believer, sometimes they would have Christians on their shows and they're over talking them and all this. And I'm like, I want to hear what that person has to say. Like, can y'all just hush for a minute? You know what I mean? So that's one of those things that emboldened me to just get online and just kind of rip the band-aid off and just say, hey guys, hi, my name is, and if you're out here, you're single, you're Christian, you're horny, whatever, like me too. Like I'm just trying to figure this out, and stuff. And that was the beginning stages of what is now God, Sex, and Love. People again take issue with the name and all that, but I feel like it's my testimony at the end of the day because God used my desire to please him because that was always the thing because I couldn't really stay comfortable in sin because it was always in the back of my mind of what I should be doing and just the conviction, right? And then that was frustrating as well. Like, how can I like it seems like why am I dealing with this? Like, why am I thinking about this, Lord? Nobody else in my age range seemed to even care, you know what I mean? And I'm over here suffering, and stuff. And so yeah, like I'm just spiritual warfare and different capacities from youth and on up. I found other ways to express myself. That's where I guess the poetry and the writing and stuff come in because since I couldn't say stuff out loud because it would be war, I had to write. So I started writing poems. I started writing like just in general to just get things out that was in. And then ultimately, I did find I would say the gift of acting and pursuing that to I guess because I guess people can receive me better as characters than me, apparently. So it's a whole combination. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, people can receive you better as a character. Do you feel better portraying who you are through being a character? Is there a little layer of protection there?
Hmm. I don't know if it's being who I am. I think it's just the freedom of being someone else. Like when I'm playing characters, it's a freedom of like not having to worry about like if someone don't like the character or if somebody don't like something, then I'm like, oh, that's not even me. So,
Yeah,
and it's a little bit different. Like for example, when I sing or write the songs I write, stuff like that. It's like if someone don't like it or whatever, it's like, oh, it's me you don't like. So I think I separate myself when it comes to performing and being characters. So much so where a lot of times, like I used to do these dinner shows and stuff. Maybe I'll start back doing them one day. But a lot of times I'm playing like these fun, bubbly, high personality type characters. And then like after the show, I drop the accents and I'm dropping the whole thing, and people are like, "Whoa!" Like, "Oh, you're not." They're like, "No, I'm not. Nice to meet you. This is me." Um, but yeah, like it's a lot of fun to play something else completely different. I don't know if maybe it's different aspects of me, but not. I wouldn't say any of that is quote unquote me. I think Miracle is reserved. Miracle is observant. Miracle is um probably. I mean, I'm the person, for example, like if nobody's talking, then I'll talk to get everybody else talking, and then I'll stop and let everybody else talk. You know what I mean? Um, or if a situation is already going and someone else has the higher personality and they're doing that, then I'm just observing everything. Like I think that's hopefully that helps you understand like who I am,
sure.
um, or my personalities in different situations. But yeah.
Interesting. I like that. Tell me about the writing then. Is the writing you expressing you? Is the writing you talking about your faith?
Mm.
Is it God speaking through you? How do you categorize your writing and what have you written?
Yes. So I would say yes, it's all of those things. Writing is
Yeah.
I definitely feel like it's a me thing. One of the reasons I started to outside of poetry, because that was again, I told you I had to find other ways to express myself,
Yeah.
um, and get my thoughts out and stuff. But another reason I just started to write was just one of the things I really don't like. I don't know if it's a pet peeve, I don't know, but basically, I don't like to be told that I don't remember something. People call that gaslighting now. But back in the day, like I would have conversations with people and they would say, like, they either didn't remember what I remembered or they're telling me that I remember something wrong or something. I'm like, oh. You know what I mean? I'm like, I know this, that, and then they're telling. So I started to keep a diary to remember things that happened because I'm like, I don't, if you know something and then someone else comes in and it makes you feel crazy, like, am I remembering something wrong, or something.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons so yeah, that's definitely, I guess, a me thing, me getting my thoughts out. These days I would say it's the Lord speaking through me. When it comes to, it depends on what I'm writing, I guess. But a lot of times these days I'm either writing like daily inspiration or just different things. And so in that aspect, then yeah, I feel like the Lord is speaking through me. um, but in the beginning stages, it was just getting my thoughts out, getting, documentation, stuff like that. And so what have I written? So when it comes to the cultivation period, a single Christian's journey, I feel like that's like a memoir. So that's pretty much my life up until a certain point. That I guess that point in my 20s. I pretty much documented yeah, just kind of gave a timeline of what happened, for people to understand like what I learned about being single and I guess preparing for marriage. But then at the same time, I guess learning about, like, again, how I was handling dating, how I was dealing with guys, again, I was fooling around and all that type of stuff at that particular time. And so I was like, why am I like this? Like, why am I like this? And so when I really thought back to the first early exposure, I believe I kind of attributed to that. And then from there, get the understanding of like what, just kind of shared what I went through and the different choices I made it along the way. And pretty much how the Lord just pretty much led me back to Him to understand that, it wasn't necessarily marriage that I was missing, or the husband that I was wanting at that particular time. It was the relationship with Him, that needed to get cultivated and needed to get, I guess, where it needed to be. So He was always there, but I don't think I guess he didn't take him seriously, but it was in my 20s that, like I said, I finally asked the Lord like what He wanted me to do. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was writing. Now again, I've written other things. I have more children books now, I think, than anything. But the first publication was not the cultivation period, even though I wrote it back in my 20s. The first thing I published was the 30-day Bible study journal. Um, Long story short. The Lord had put on my heart and mind this concept of GSL for years. And I had been trying to work towards it because I thought it was going to be some talk show, me at a table with some ladies, probably an audience, kind of like for real, is what I thought it was going to be. Obviously, the Lord had other plans, but you go with what you think.
Right.
So I was working towards it, getting things done along the way. Like I get the logo done, different stuff. And I was this close to start trying to record it and do it the way I thought. But then COVID happened, right? And so I kind of paused on it and stuff. And then obviously come to find out, like, okay, like everybody else, I'm thinking at that particular time, it was a reset pretty much for me. I had just become a new mom and I was already kind of at home because of that anyway. And so eventually, so many things. So the year before, so people complain about 2020, but for me, 2019 was like my crazy year because I felt like the Lord told me to get a venue and work on my business. So I was like, okay, this is perfect timing because I'm a new mom now. If I get my business going the way I think it should go, then I don't have to worry about where my son is going to be because he could be with me. Because who's going to tell me I can't have my son at my venue? You know what I mean? I know I probably can't take him to the jobs I was doing, but if I'm doing my own thing, then he can be there. So I was focused on that. And there was just so many ups and downs. Like there was highs of like being able to get like a little funding and then but then lows of not, it just was so much going on in 2019, like ups and downs, ups and downs. And eventually, finally, everything panned out at the beginning of 2020. But then obviously we know that like a couple of months in,
Right.
everybody's,
Oh yeah.
and again, I was doing dinner shows, so that was one of those things like, oh, people are scared to meet together.
Right.
And so, basically, in 2019, I was talking to my husband about GSL, and I was telling him that I think maybe I should just make it a blog because I'm like I can at least just write, and then it gets the idea out there, and just getting out there because I've been sitting on it for years. And he's like, you should do a podcast, and I was like, what? always do this to me. Every time I say I want to do one thing, you add a bigger, grander thing. And so I kind of just brushed him off at that time because I was like, oh, get out of me. You do this to me all the time. But then 2019 came around, I mean, excuse me, 2020 came around, and then I'm home. I'm with our son. There's nothing else to do. I can't do my business. And then the idea came back around about the podcast. And so I looked into it and saw that like I had everything I need to do it. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll start doing this podcast. I finally put this idea about GSL out. And so, I finally did, but ironically, I didn't start with the quote unquote talk show. The Lord had me started with daily inspiration. So I called that the juice. At that time, I didn't know it was going to be daily. I was talking to my husband and my mentor at that time, and I'm like, I got this name, the juice, your daily dose of inspiration, but I don't know, like, am I going to do it once a week, once a month? Like, I don't know. And then she's like, it's in the name. It say daily. I'm like, oh, but what am I going to talk about every day? Like, so it was this whole thing, this whole journey of figuring out what the Lord wanted me to even do. But he had been telling me for years, I need to study the Bible more. I need to pray more and all that. And I'm just like, okay, okay. Bible verse of the day. Got it, Lord. So, but anyway, so basically, what happened was I kicked it off with the Juice Your Daily Dose of Inspiration. I pretty much would Bible study and share whatever the Lord lead me to study as inspiration. And so that I ended up creating a journal to inspire other people to test themselves for 30 days to do what I was doing, which is pretty much take every day, study the Bible, study whatever the Lord wants you to study, and just take out that time, like be intentional. Because at that time I was really like, okay, I'm gonna treat this like this is a morning show. Like if I was hired to go to somebody's radio station, I would get up in the morning and go. So I'm gonna get up in the morning. I'm setting my alarm. I'm getting up. I'm studying the Bible. I'm gonna share the daily inspiration by 6. He has me doing something else now these days, but y'all can see the fruit from if you go on the channel, guys. That's in love. You'll see the fruit from the years before. Ironically, I kicked it off April 1st, 2020. How funny is that? And yeah, I was doing daily inspiration Monday through Saturday. And this journal, that was the first book I published. And so I'm like, okay, I see what you did there, Lord. You wanted me to publish something to help people study the Bible. Okay. And then after that, that's when I ended up publishing some of the other things, kind of back to back in some ways. Once I realized I'm like, I got everything I need to finally publish, because that was a journey too. But yeah, now I want to publish everything I think about at this point. So yeah, 8
Wow.
publications done. Uh, hopefully many more to go.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Well, now we're down to kind of the show at this point. And she's like, "Oh no, no, don't ask me about that."
Oh no, no, no.
All right.
No, I thought you were saying that we ran out of time. I was like, oh no.
Oh no, no, no,
I
no. We
talked
still
too
got a few minutes.
much.
Don't worry about that. You're doing great. I mean, obviously, the title of the show is a little provocative. It's gonna get, some hate, I would assume, and some love, right? I mean, what was the reaction that you got from different areas when you decided to go with that name?
So ironically, so God, sex, and love, like yeah, it's way more controversial now apparently than it was when I kicked it off. So when I kicked it, when I kicked it off, I really didn't see much negativity. I don't want to say like until I started to do interviews with other podcasts.
Hmm.
Then another podcaster asked me, about that, and I was like, I don't know, I haven't seen, much or whatever. And then soon after, I was inviting I was inviting someone on the show. And this person, God bless them, whoever they are, they know who, I don't anyway. So basically, you know how they have these different groups as podcasters, Facebook,
Oh
stuff like
yeah,
that. And
absolutely.
so Christian ones as well. And so somebody was in there one day and they were like, I want to come and talk about rape and da 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 da. Or no, abortions. Da, da, da. I want to come and talk about abortions and da da da. I said, oh, come to GSL Talk Show. Just like I would invite anybody else, right? I'm like, oh, come to GSL Talk Show.
Sure.
Oh, I don't think that is for me, the platform. And I was like, well, people wouldn't need to get no abortions if they weren't having no sex. So But okay, God bless you. You know what I'm saying? You don't feel like you want to come to GSL. But at that point, like when I saw it, I want to say maybe it was like a few hours posted and nobody said anything to her. Right. And I'm like one of the first people to say something to you. And you just, so that was the first time I guess first saw some negativity about the name because I was like, oh, I didn't know y'all was looking at it like that. And then too, now these days it's on a whole nother level. And we can talk about it or whatever, but yeah, it's on a whole nother level now that I am still seeing some type of, I guess, hate or negativity. But people, one, got to understand that when it comes to God, sex, and love, I feel like I've said this over and over again, but for your audience and for you, right? GSL, I feel like is my testimony at the end of the day. Like when I first started talking online, in one of my videos that I was like, I'm going to rip the band-aid off of this. I'm going to, and so I was just honest. I was like, look, if I'm not talking to someone, if I'm not having a conversation, if I'm not doing something in particular, I'm either thinking about God, I'm thinking about my career, or I'm thinking about sex. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just being honest as a Christian woman. These are the things I'm thinking about when I'm not like doing something. You know what I mean? And I just had this whole conversation just online talking about that. Um, and so when I thought about a talk show, eventually I think at that point, because sex and love was so ingrained in my mind, I just because I came back, I want to say in the video I did after that, I was like, okay, look, let me explain. When I said sex, I don't mean just only sex. I'm thinking about love, marriage, romance, all of that is lumped. I had it all so lumped together in my mind at that particular time. So eventually, by the time the Lord was, I guess, putting in my heart and mind about the talk show, um, I pretty much just took career out of it, even though we still talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and stuff. But
Yeah.
basically, I just felt like it was just a nice name to say God, sex, and love, because I was understanding that okay, love and sex isn't like doesn't always have to be so like this. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Yes, marriage, love, you should be having the sex with someone you love and married to. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is like I think I had to finally separate it in my mind to understand that it's not like having sex isn't automatically equating to love. Am I making sense here? So, and
Absolutely.
then also
Yeah.
that God is love. And then, so people struggle with it or something. And I'm trying to understand because I'm like, okay, are we not all seeing the results of trying to leave God of the sex conversation? Because I feel like that's part of the problem. There's a lot of things we're dealing with on the channel now, but like, I feel like again, people are saying, "Oh, you can't put like." Even recently, someone was like, "Oh, you can't put God with sin." And I literally yesterday, the juice was about sex is not a sin. Like that, the work, the sex, the is not a sin. It's doing it out of God's parameters. You know what I'm saying? Like doing it out of His boundaries. That's where the sin come in. You're before marriage, all of that. Like that's the
Right.
sin. It's not the action or the concept itself. Like it's a beautiful gift that the Lord created. And we need to bring it back, you know what I mean? And let it be that beautiful gift that He created, not, you know, let the enemy continue to taint it and thwart it and use it to do what he's already doing and stealing, killing, and destroying us. So
Right.
everybody may not understand, but I feel like just a few views on the channel might help you understand that, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm like, y'all think I'm trying to tell the people to fornicate or something? What do y'all think? Like, just watch the channel. Like, if you're really confused, or just don't, and just pray for me if you feel like I'm wrong. But I, the Lord used my desire to please Him, my desire for sex, and my desire for love to draw me near to Him and show me that those things weren't necessarily what I was missing. It was Him and my relationship with Him. And we're still working on that. Like, I'm still trying to figure out, okay, Lord, what does it mean to be more intimate with you? You know what I'm saying? Because, you think a certain way when you hear intimate. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that don't make sense. Lord, help me understand. How can and so I'm still on the journey still, but I'll answer some questions, brother.
Okay. Hey, I love it. You answered that one very, very well. So, the thing that's been going through my head, I don't know if since you and I first started talking, before we even started the interview, is I absolutely can see the Facebook posts now, of the people who just because those two words are together, they're losing their minds. Because there's all of the, everybody assumes things, and they think that you have like a porn channel or something, and the whole bit.
Right.
What's really funny is whenever I hear any of this sort of thing, um, where it's almost like if you're going to be a true Christian, you have to be chaste. You have to like be non-sexual at all. Um, it- God wants you to have children, so there's only
That's
one way
what
to
I
do
read
that.
too. I read that
Yeah.
too, but apparently,
Only one way to do that. And I've been, I've read the Bible a lot.
Mhm.
I've read a lot lately since I started the show, especially just to make sure I kind of knew what I thought I knew. And there are a lot of people in the Bible having sex. There are prostitutes in the Bible. There are all kinds of stuff in there. Very prominent figures that are probably on people's walls.
Right. Come on now.
That,
Look,
yeah,
you
that,
teaching and
that,
preaching.
right. So this is what I mean. I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, but we have this a lot. And one of the biggest, it's one of the reasons why I love this topic right now, because you've had to kind of, deal with this backlash. But one of the biggest pieces of spiritual warfare that I think we all miss, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is the what the devil has already pulled off. Christianity is the single biggest religion in the entire world, bar none, if you put everybody together.
Mm,
And the devil knows that. So he pulled off the ultimate divide and conquer.
mm,
And we can't get out of our own way because instead of all of us coming together and being Christians, we're fighting with each other over the words on your wall
mm-hmm,
or, a line in this tenet for this religion as opposed to this denomination.
mm-hmm.
And he basically divided all of us and got us fighting amongst each other so that we can't possibly unite.
Right.
I don't know if you ever thought about that or if you have any opinions on that, but what do you think?
I think about a lot of random things. So, I mean, yes, I definitely see what you're saying, and I agree. I agree that yeah, the enemy he has a lot of territory. When it comes to yes sex, but then also everything you just said, like in keeping us divided, it doesn't help. We should be able to be brothers and sisters in Christ, right?
Mhm.
But he's using words, right? He's using concepts that not aren't even in the Bible. That's another thing too. I'm like, I keep seeing that, bro. Like people keep saying, oh, like again, sex is a sin or whatever. Like they're saying these things and they feel absolutely strong and right. But I'm like, well, look, if you just read the Bible a little bit, I just don't. Am I gonna go with you or am I gonna go with what the words say? Like, it's just I don't know if we really believe what we say we do. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like I don't know if because we don't live like that. We don't know it. That's another thing too. Like when I'm having these conversations with people, it, they're not familiar with what I'm talking about, and I'm like, okay, well let's go to this verse here. Like, what do you think this means? You know what I mean? Like, are we reading the same Bible? You said you believe too. I'm confused. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
and so it's what you said, but then it's also us not studying to show ourselves approved. I guess we're just going off of what someone else say, and then we're not Bibles for ourselves to know what it says, so you can be able to have something to stand on, like when and be ready for when the warfare comes. Because the Lord told us, right? He said they hated me, so they're gonna hate you.
Yep.
And so
Absolutely.
now I've shifted my heart and mind to understand that when I do see those attacks and stuff, you know, I can't say it don't sting, right? I can't say it don't hurt on the inside, like, oh, my feelings is hurt. Y'all not understanding me, But at the same time, I something has renewed my heart and mind to see that, oh, okay, you just gave me some confirmation. Well, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and be look, rejoice, like the Bible tell us to do, things like that. But how can we do that? How can we do that unless we be in the word to know again what the word says?
Right.
And I'm not again acting like I'm some, theologian or something. Like I'm just taking time, every day to read too. Um, and then, I guess being bold enough to share for the past 5 years. Um, that has been one of the really tough things for me to like feel as if fellow believers and I are on the same page. And me and it makes I would rather feel like I'm wrong, right? And keep going to the Lord and be like,
Right.
Lord, is it me? Am I missing it? You know what I'm saying? Than to think that, for example, my elders or people that have been believers longer than me or whatever, like to think that any of them are wrong. I would rather think I'm wrong. Um, but then the more I get into the word, the more I'm seeing like, well, I don't see it to be, but I don't know. Maybe I'm misinterpreting something, Lord. Some things are still up for, interpretation, right? But I'm like, plain words. Some things is very clear too. So
Right.
I don't know why we have this separation other than, like you said, the enemy, right, is using these things for us to fight amongst each other and again, still kill and destroy, each and every one of us. And so are we going to unite finally and get on one accord and live like we say we do, or are we going to just continue to stay in our bubbles and you wrong, we wrong, I don't.
I hear you. It's the only way to defeat Christianity as an army, period. So if everybody got together and put on the armor of God and they were led by the lions of God up in the front, that army does not lose. And the only way to defeat it is to beat it from within, and
Mm-hmm.
have us beat ourselves. So I am with you. I love what you said there. Are we reading from the same Bible? Because I think I've asked myself that question a lot in the last couple of months. But so I get that. Tell everybody because, hey, they may not be willing to go check out the show. Okay. I did. I'm still here. I didn't burst into flames
Oh, thanks.
or anything. Tell everybody, who you have on there and, how you pick your guests and what do you talk about when you're on there.
Okay, so when it comes to the GSL Talk Show, basically, for the most part, this is so interesting because I was just talking to someone else about this, so here it is again today for me. But so for the most part, I accept anybody to come on the show, right? In the beginning, I was doing a lot of panel discussions and stuff like that. So there was friends of mine, we would get together and just have conversations about certain topics and stuff like that. Sometimes it would be an all male conversation, and I just be like a fly on the wall, like what's going on in the men's mind. Sometimes it would be a girl chat, sometimes it would be co-ed conversations and stuff. So I was doing a lot of that in the beginning. Now it tends to be a lot more one-on-one conversations. A lot of entrepreneurs come and share, obviously, their endeavors. There's points where, I know people are like, well, where's the sex, right? So we've had some sex experts come, you know what I mean, and share what they do and what they got going on and stuff. Some may not be believers, some may be believers and stuff like that. So but just to hear like what they have to say and what they're teaching people, and just to hear that from perspective. This year though, here in 2025, I've had vet some people, some conversations I felt like the Lord didn't lead me to have. But for the most part, for the years prior to this year, anybody that wanted to come on the show, I would let them come. Now I think the Lord's leading me to be a little bit more intentional, depending on what I'm trying to come and say and do. So there might have been like two, maybe three people that this year that reached out to be, and I was like, just by looking into what they got going on, it didn't seem like it was going to be a good fit to add, right? And again, I try to, keep it a judgment-free zone, but like if you're gonna come and say something completely against, not say you can't, I'm not saying you can't be an unbeliever, but I think, for example, I'm not sure I go deep. I feel like going to just tell you. So for example, I had a gentleman that I guess used to be I guess, porn producer, for example, right? Well, that's what he was. But anyway, and the thing was he wasn't coming to say I guess he was no longer in it, but he wasn't, it seemed like he was coming to teach people how to do it or something. And I'm like, I've had people that came here as porn recovery, you know what I'm saying? So
There you go.
I
Right.
just go to your site and there's some soft stuff right there, you know what I mean? So I don't feel like I can have you come here, right? And what, sending people to your website and there's some soft stuff there, like that's not matching with what we're sharing here. Now, if you came and you're like, oh, I done changed my life or something, and and this is why we shouldn't be, then okay, that's another conversation. You can come and share that testimony. But it seemed like you're trying to teach people how to do what you were doing or something, and I'm like, that's not you see what I'm saying, discernment, right?
Right.
I was like, yeah, this might be one I have to say no to, and so there's been a couple of situations that's been along those lines that, but for the most part, like, either I'll just offer it, like I told you about the lady on Facebook, like, hey, you want to be on the show? People say that they want to share about whatever their testimony is. I usually, hey, would you like to be on there? Matching with people on awesome sites like Podmatch and stuff like that. But anybody that has a testimony can come, anybody that, again, if you are a sex expert of some sort, or if you're just coming to share about your business, like anybody can come on the GSL Talk Show. I think my whole thing was just wanting to create a space where you could talk about sex if you wanted to, and you don't have to feel like it's taboo, weird, none of that. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
we've had so many amazing people come and share their testimonies, the ups and downs of being a believer, um, couples that dealt with infidelity, the human trafficking survivor alley is like one of our highest viewed content person that has come thus far. But even just getting that message out there about human trafficking and whatnot, like that, child abuse and whatnot. Unfortunately, yes, child sex abuse. You know what I'm saying? All of these type
Right.
of things have been discussed on the channel, and I'm just grateful that majority of the people seem to get it. Majority of
Yeah.
the people appreciate what we're doing, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. Like it's gone way beyond what I even thought. It is different than what I thought it was going to be, and and everything, but I'm grateful for the way it is because it's allowed me to be able to, like I say, even meet people like you. We've never met in person or anything, and I don't know where you are and stuff like that, but I've been able to talk to people from around the world because of the way that the Lord allowed me to do it through it being virtual. And so I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool with what the Lord is currently doing. And if he wants to do it another way or, expand it, I feel like at this point, God, Sex, and Love is just, it's a channel that has multiple shows. So GSL Talk Show is one of those shows. The Juice Daily Dose of Inspiration is another show. There's other concepts and stuff under that umbrella as well. So it's more like a network than a talk. I thought it was just gonna be a talk show, but apparently it's more like a network at this point. So we're gonna see what the Lord do with that and stuff. But thus far, I'm amazed at what he's already done, and it's been such a blessing to me in my life. Just meeting people and having these conversations and just being real, open, honest, and transparent, and not being fake about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I really do. When I looked into, what you were doing, and everything, I kind of vetted you a little bit. At first it's like, okay, maybe I better look at this, right? And then I looked at it and I went, you know what, this is perfect, really. Because one of my biggest issues and sort of my mission really is to put out the message that we need to unite. And we have to get past stuff like this,
Mm-hmm.
where we just misunderstand and we
Mm-hmm.
don't look and we don't listen and we don't read, the actual Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things that I really wanted to get to today, and you went right there. So I just want to appreciate you for that. And I mean, yeah, it sounds like I have an agenda, but I guess I do because I just think the biggest hoax in the whole world has been perpetrated on us as Christians when the devil convinced us all that we needed to fight with each other. And
Mm-hmm.
if we ever stop it, it's going to take people getting over things like the name of your show to start bridging those gaps. So I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. You are helping people, and you're giving people an avenue to get where they want to be with God. So power to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing your due diligence because at the end of the day, yeah, it could have been some anything. You know what I'm saying? So you
Hmm.
got to make sure. Ain't nothing wrong with that, right? But my whole thing is like I don't do too much debating of the Bible. You know what I'm saying? And so if
Sure.
people want to come tell me I'm wrong about something or whatever, it's like, okay, we can agree to disagree on some stuff, but when we talking about Bible, like either we're going to believe or we're not going to believe. Like, but we can't change the words, right? If you're changing the words, then you're not, then we're no longer talking about the Bible. We're talking about, I guess, your opinion or something. But yeah, so yeah, doing due diligence. I mean, checking out an episode, check out the juice, see what I'm talking about, whatever, like whatever you need to do. But there's plenty of content at this point. So
Hmm.
you thousands of videos to make sure that girl Miracle ain't trying to leave. You know what I'm saying? Um, And you'll see. I mean, I'm just usually coming from the Bible, right? I've had people, I've had people, I guess, that claim to be psychics and all this type of stuff. People have been on a platform that may not believe what I believe, so I'm not going to. But I still, right, stand on what I believe, regardless of who is there, and what they believe. And I'm just giving a space for people to be able to share. And like I said, I am being more intentional now about like the guests and stuff. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful for where the Lord has brought me and what He's doing with me, for me, and through me. And um, it's an exciting place to be. I feel very content here, even though I know there's more coming and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, well, Lord, I mean, really, that's you, because I was fine being just, if you just want me to stay, do the juice and just do the little stuff I do, I'm cool with that. But um, obviously, I don't think He just wants me here or to be stagnant. So I'm growing more and more every day, and I'm excited. I'm excited about what the Lord is doing. And I appreciate you, taking out the time, right? And having me here, as well as just again checking out the content, um and you're welcome to be on the show as well. You know what I'm saying? And share about what you have going on here, because I feel like everybody's testimony is important, right? One of the beautiful things that I we kind of tapped into a little bit, but my example is like, just like the chaste person, right? Or the person that maybe stayed a virgin, or maybe still be, and stuff like that. Like, their testimony is just as important as hearing the redeemed person, right? The person that didn't stay on the straight and narrow, but they turned their life around, and Jesus helped, them turn their life around. So basically, I would just say GSLs give both of these people the opportunity to come and share their testimonies. Which I can't say that no other place has done that, but I just say that, again, I try my best to be open, honest, and transparent about me and my own life. And I feel like that has given a space for other people to be able to come and do the same. Whether it's that, again, that virgin, or that, I guess, whoremonger that changed her life, if you want to look at her that way. You know what I'm saying? For example. These are examples. I'm not talking about nobody in particular. But because I'm not
There you
going to
go.
judge neither one, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because
I
I
hear you.
understand they both have a testimony. The Lord is using both of them, right? Um, and that's how He looks at us, because we all have sinned and fallen short.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. All right, Miracle, I love it. I really do. And I hope that you just, keep on fighting, keep on doing what you believe in, and, keep making noise, because sometimes you have to rattle a few cages to get people to wake up. So I think it's great. How can anybody who's listening to this, who's like, I like this lady's style, right? How can anybody contact you, find your stuff, so on?
yes, the website is godsexandlove.com, right? The YouTube channel is God, Sex, and Love, so it's just at God, Sex, and Love. Me in particular, if you just want more details about Miracle Sims, you can always go to actressmiraclesims.com. I'm Cultivation Coach Miracle on Instagram. And yeah, those are the main places that'll pretty much take you to anything in reference to me. So
Awesome. I'll make sure that stuff's in the show notes too. Uh, I'll tell you what, Miracle, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing everything that you did, for just presenting, this fresh perspective that you come at things with, and for being you. Incredibly authentic, and really enjoyed talking to you today. Thanks for coming on.
thank you.
All right, folks, it is time to be heard. It is time to wake up the lions. More than that, it's time for you to take your rightful place with your brothers and your sisters and let them hear you roar. Folks, the world's ready. You're ready. You just have to believe it.